Hi, I'm Jane. Welcome to our next installment of the Access Courses Online podcast. And today I'm joined by the wonderful. Who
Laura
are you,
Watt.
Laura?
Hi guys. I am director of online access courses. I'm really proud and privileged to be in that position. I started with the company leading the faculty of science, and that includes nursing, midwifery, health professionals, and science. But now I'm absolutely honoured to take on a bigger position in the company, now running all of the online access courses.
It's so, yeah, you're just a human sunbeam, my love. Um, so for those that don't know or kind of haven't worked with you already, what's your what's your provenance? Um, how did you get to be where you are now?
I probably followed quite a normal route initially. I went to school. I loved science, and I didn't actually realise for a long time that women were underrepresented in science. I just loved science. I loved rock pooling. My parents, I must have had really high science capital because my parents took me to like the science museum. I had a
Mm,
microscope. I was a full science geek, and absolutely not ashamed of it whatsoever. So going into science was always going to be my direction. Like that is my absolute passion. So I was always going to go in science. Didn't know what. So at the beginning, I was like, I want to be a pharmacist because I had some really inspirational role models. Then I did my work experience in a pharmacy, and I was like, this is great, but it's not exactly what I want to do. And then I was like, I love the ocean. I love the marine ecosystem. So I actually went to Portsmouth University and studied a degree in marine biology. And that's where I think, because I was a bit of a tricky student at school, and that's probably why I quite like the tricky students now because I see a little bit of me in them. I was a bit of a tricky student at school, and then when I went to go and do my degree, oh my God, I was a brilliant student. I went to every single lecture. I was sat always at the front. And me and my friends used to joke, we're going to go
Tina.
get our seats at the front. I'd be making extensive notes. I'd hang around after lecturers to just, I'd hang around after lectures to speak to my lecturers and ask further questions.
Mm.
Just absolutely loved my degree. And then I graduated in the recession of 2008. I kind of thought all the way through university, oh, I'll just go and get a job in something that I love.
Yeah,
Easy.
yeah.
It really wasn't. So I'd applied for a few jobs and didn't get them. And I was becoming a little bit disillusioned. And my dad said, look, why don't you just go and do a PGCE, which is the teacher training qualification? And he said, if it doesn't work out, then you've lost, a year. That's not a biggie. And I'd in the back of my head, I probably had always thought about teaching. And one of my friends at university, we used to study together, and I'd like read a paper and then I'd explain it back to her in a completely selfish way because I'll be like, it helps me understand it. If I can explain it to Claudia, then I know it. And she was like, oh, you're really good at being a teacher. You should consider it. And then so I did my PGCE thinking I'll do this for a bit and then we'll just see how it goes.
Yeah.
In love with teaching, trained by Andy Smith at Portsmouth University, and I think he's incredible in the way that he trains teachers because he constantly questions you. Why do you need to do it like that? Why do students need to write things down? Why does that happen? What is the purpose in that? And he constantly had you questioning and thinking, what's the best way to do this? Why do we do it? What motivates us to do it in this way?
Which ironically is very scientific.
Oh,
It's a, it's a, it's the same energy in science, isn't it? Where you're constantly exploring, improving, gathering data, proving it to yourself, evidencing it. It's very aligned, isn't it?
super aligned, and I think the way that Andy does train is very unique and incredible. So then I started teaching in Portsmouth. He said to me, Laura, you need to just get a job now. And I said, but I might go back to Liverpool because that's where I'm originally from. And he said, no, just get a year and just
Hello.
do your NQT year here. And then then you've got it and you can do whatever you want. And then obviously, like I fell in love with teaching. I had toyed with the idea of a PhD, and my old supervisor was like, do you think you're going to come back and do a PhD? And I was like, I'm really sorry, but that's just not my path anymore.
I'm a teacher now.
I'm a teacher and you know, for 15 years I've taught in Portsmouth. I've been involved with my trade union, the National Education Union, but previously the National Union of Teachers. And I stood at the front of conferences, debating motions and giving speeches about how, you know, it's shocking that so many people are leaving the profession, but I'm a
Yeah.
teacher and I will always, I can't imagine doing anything else because this is the best job in the world. It's my vocation. You know, I'm meant to be a teacher.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah, and that is, you know, I know you've talked a lot about ikigai and that sort of what you're meant to do, what's good for the world, what will give you money, and then that point in the middle between those things. And I think education is that for me. But the past year, I went through a little bit of a transition, I guess, which has been quite challenging. And I think this is where my path digressed from a normal one because naturally it would have been, you know, stay in the classroom indefinitely. And actually, I chose not to do that. And I've chosen a much different path and one much less traveled. So during my maternity year, I really had to 2 years basically because I had a child, Millie, and then I had another one quite quickly afterwards. And I guess I really had to reassess what was important to me. And I had to reassess the way that I worked. Because previously, I just, you know, when I wasn't teaching, I was organising STEM activities or going to union conferences. And I had to,
Or creating a STEM charity, delivering more opportunity to the people in Portsmouth and across the country.
so that's where I think actually I had space while I was on maternity leave to really think. And actually that first lockdown, so Millicent was born the 2 weeks before the national lockdown. I went to the Palmodzi Creatives Inspirational Women of Portsmouth Awards with my 7-day-old baby. Like, what's going on? The reason that
I'm riding this fantastic wave of
oh,
possibility.
it took me a lot to build up to like getting out of the house. That was a 24-hour process, like planning and so forth. But yeah, went to the awards, was an award recipient for education, which gave me such a boost when I think my self-esteem was very low. Because I think when you've
Yeah.
just had a baby, you're in quite a fragile state, aren't you? Because you're like,
Yeah.
you're forced to change, the way of life changes, and you don't really know what the future's going to look like.
You've not done it before. There's chemically a lot going on inside you. There's physically a lot going on inside you.
Yeah. And for the
Yeah.
first time in my life, you know, like when I was teaching, if you just tried harder, if you just put more work in, if you read more stuff and tried different strategies, things definitely improve. So, you know, you got a tricky class,
Mhm.
rethink how you do it, you reflect, you find a new strategy. But that doesn't work with a baby. You know, you
No,
can
and
try.
also you have years of training before that. So not only have you been a student, uh, you've had years of training on how to do this effectively or how to transition.
Yeah,
But you don't have that with a child. It's just a surprise of we're gonna get what we're gonna get.
here you go. And then obviously, you know, normally you've got a whole team of support around you. I didn't. I literally,
Yeah.
like, you know, FaceTime. I had to FaceTime, have breastfeeding lessons via FaceTime. I
Yeah.
didn't see my parents for 3 months. You know, like it was a really challenging time. But I wouldn't say it was a negative experience because I just
Oh
got on.
no.
Like I access services via FaceTime. You know, family and friends checked in on me. It was lovely. And actually, it gave us quite a lot of space to think. So I'd like, you know, pound the pavement, take Millicent for walks in the pram, and obviously on my own because it was lockdown. And it just gave me loads of space to stop and think because I hadn't done that probably for my whole
Yeah.
life. Uh,
Yeah.
I was always on to the next thing, always, you know, what do I need to do now? Right, I've mastered that. What do I need to do now? Oh, I've done a master's. I need to do something else now.
Uh-huh.
And so I just stopped. And someone, a wise friend, said to me, when you put your little baby into childcare, you need to know that what you're doing is an absolute, you know, passion and that you enjoy it, that it's really, really
It's
valuable.
worth it's
It's worth.
worth being apart from your child for. Yeah.
And traditional education in the classroom wasn't because I feel like in my 15 years of teaching, you don't have to read the headlines to know that child poverty levels are higher than they've ever been. We've got an incredibly restrictive curriculum and an exam focused system. We've got children with so many mental health crises and anxieties around exams. Like they're just
Well, it's been a perfect storm, hasn't it? Because there are so many external factors nationally and at government level that have affected education.
yeah,
Um, not to get too political, but that then is compounded by other things like a post-pandemic world, which nobody understands because we've not lived through that before, and um, how that is gonna play out in our different communities. So we all, to a certain extent, and especially within education, I know so many educators that have had to have a real kind of evaluation of what their passion is, how
yeah,
they can live their passion, how
yeah.
they can be of service to their community, um, because it's a massive labor of love, isn't it? And
Oh, it is.
there's no two ways about that.
Yeah. And so much, I think what people don't realize is so much in the education system works on goodwill. So people would say to me, oh, but you're getting paid to do that. And I'm like, oh no, like this is like just my
No,
extra.
not getting paid for that bit.
No, no. But like, and lots of it runs on, yeah, but it's good for the children. It gives them a
Yes.
transformational experience, which it absolutely does. Don't get me wrong. I don't regret it for 5 seconds running all of the
No.
clubs and STEM provisions that I've done, but it is extra work. And actually, I think what happened towards the end of my teaching career is I had to weigh up, you know, I've always believed that loci parentis, the children in your care, you are acting in absence of their parents because we spend a
Yeah.
lot of time with them. And I love those kids. I really do. I really am invested in their educational journey. And I do believe they only get one chance at education. I want it to be the best possible one that they can have. But I realized if I was to do that, it's at the detriment of my children. And and that's not fair.
Yeah.
I was sacrificing time with my children to support
Raise others.
of others.
Yeah.
So that's when my pathway changed. I set up Community and I went part-time in the classroom.
Mhm.
Now, Community is my passion because I was like, how do I do STEM stuff, which the projects which bring me so much joy and I believe transform opportunities of young people? And how do I do more of that? And I was like,
So I'm just going to jump in and just clarify for people that aren't sort of familiar with STEM. It's the acronym of science, technology, engineering, and maths, and it's really sort of because of the technological world we're in now.
yeah,
Um, it, it's so important. We
yeah,
are biased because that's, we have a shared passion of STEM education. Um, but it's so important because we're in a technological world, but
yeah,
at a classroom level, at a school level, they could be quite expensive things to deliver, whether it's sort of computers and tech um, or physical resources to develop science, etc. So schools that are having budgets cut all the time,
mm,
it's very, very easy to just kind of step back from those, from focusing on delivering. I'm trying to think how to put this
yeah.
as
It's hard.
respectfully as possible. It
Yeah,
is,
it's really challenging. Um,
it is challenging, especially perhaps if there's a national movement around physical education, and that's where the budgets have to be allocated. Then, coding resources or science resource, it's not always delivered as best it can be. So
yeah.
that Community, the charity you set up, really seeks to provide opportunity, doesn't it, to support schools and councils and countries
Yes. So I
in
think
doing that.
because STEM education is when we're talking about STEM, it's an approach to learning. It's focusing on those skills which aren't always valued within the curriculum. Skills of communication, problem finding, problem solving, collaborative learning. And I think some of those things are, they take a bit of time to prepare. They take a bit of time to orchestrate.
Bit
Um,
of confidence as well. There's a
confident.
lot of confidence if you're not, especially a sciencey person.
Yeah.
It can be, the dawn. It could be quite daunting if somebody says, "Sorry, I have to focus on science, technology, and engineering and maths." Oh no,
And
don't
bringing
make me do that.
from outside school,
Yeah.
like it's not as easy as, oh, just request a STEM ambassador. You can do that, but you need to like foster a relationship with them, get to know them, get to think about the
And
skills
that
in.
doesn't change a culture either, does it? That's just a quick fix. That doesn't raise confidence and stuff.
It doesn't, but working long term with STEM ambassadors really does. Like having people coming in time and time again, inspirational role models, like the brilliant Will from the drone rules came into my
We
school.
love Will.
Came into my school at the end of last term, was flying drones with them, going to get them their CAA license to fly drones. These are transformational experiences that will change young people's lives. And this is my passion. And I was like, how do I do more of my passion? Now, we set up Community, and yes, you're right. We have delivered some amazing projects. The nice thing is we seek funding so that we can then offer these provisions to schools at no cost, which I think, as a teacher, I really understand the financial situation schools are in. And as a teacher, I know how to design it to be delivered to support teachers so that it's not extra work. So this is like my absolute passion.
And it all builds this picture of you, doesn't it? That kind of brings you to access courses online. And I feel like where you're at now, it's it's kind of all of these skills and all of this energy, it's all kind of come together in almost this perfect role for you that says, actually, I know you say that you're not a teacher anymore, but if I talk about you, I say you're not a classroom-based teacher anymore because I think you still very much give that energy.
Yeah.
Um, so what are you doing? What's your role in Access Courses Online?
So so I was working previously 3 days a week in the classroom and then with Community because I really did believe that I couldn't not be in the classroom alongside, I thought that those two roles would have so much synergy and that's how I would manage my new career moving forwards. I would work
Yeah.
part of the time in school, I'd work part of the time for Community, and then, those two things had such synergy that they could not be broken. And alongside that, because I'm not going to lie, like childcare was phenomenal. Like, didn't my teaching salary didn't cover my childcare costs. So Gemma approached me to start set up the Faculty of Science on online access. And I was like, oh my goodness. And it took me a while to get my head around the concept because I was like, so
Yeah.
there's exams. And I said, well, do I have to give them like mid-topic assessments or something? She said, no, 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 no. You teach them the content, you teach them science, and then they'll produce assignments and you mark it and you give them feedback along the journey so that you're knowing how their subject knowledge is developing, but you're watching their skills develop through. Now, I was pretty excited by this because I felt it took me a little bit of time to reflect and think about how I'd been probably so indoctrinated into a system that I was so
Yeah.
invested in.
Yeah.
That, like, I talked about how, I thought that exam pressures were too great on young people, but I didn't think about how it could be different, how a different system would look. And I had worked on some international curriculum. So I'd worked with Amazing Britannica, developing some international resources. And it was really like blue sky thinking, like, we redesigned this. And I was like, oh my God, I'd love to deliver
Potential.
young people. Why aren't we doing this in the UK?
Yeah.
And then when I started on the online access course, it took me a while to get my head around that. I must have asked Gemma about 26 times. So there's definitely no exams, yeah. And then once I got my head around it, I was like, oh my God, I can write a curriculum. So obviously based on the exam board, but I can write a curriculum, I can deliver resources, I can decide how I develop those skills and what they look like and how I assess them. I've got freedom to do that. And people will just like respect me as a professional and respect my professional judgment. And I was like, this is what I've always wanted from education. So
Yeah.
so I started doing alongside actually. So I would be in the evenings, the first cohort, I'd be like, guys, just got in from school and bam, I'm going to hit you with some cell biology. So it was, like it was a lot juggling, but I loved it.
It's a
And
very Laura that like a- as a mental image that sums you up. That sums you up.
so yeah, I was like answering messages after school. I was doing meetings in the evening, doing bits on Saturday and Sunday. And obviously the online school was quite small at that time. So, it was manageable. And
Yeah.
then yeah, more recently, so last year, Gemma said to me, I mean, she'd been asking me a few times, like, when are you going to do more hours with the access? And I said, I can't because I'm teaching 3 days and I'm
Yeah.
doing some community. And then I kind of had a bit of an epiphany and I was like, what if I did leave the classroom and I did do more hours on online access? What would it look like? What would I be able to do? And I was thinking, God, I'd be able to do work in the daytime. Like, and I wouldn't be like, marking stuff from school and juggling all of those things.
But I'm just put and just permanently code switching. Hang
Yeah,
on, who am I serving right now? Right, okay. Is it my children? Is it my husband? Is it my employer? Is it my charity? Is it my fellow board member?
yeah, 100%.
Like that's a lot. That's a lot.
Lot. And also, I have to say, again, and I have to say, my girls have been a lot of source of inspiration in my journey. Millie was starting school, and I had not been to a single one of her nursery activity events. Now, I probably could have asked school if I could have had some of them off, but I had a lot of year 11 classes and there's a lot of teacher guilt. So if you leave a
Yeah.
class, they get cover. And I had a lot of young people who relied on me as their adult who they would come and talk to. And
Mm.
I felt that a lot. And I didn't want to let anyone down. But then I realized,
It's a beautiful thing, isn't it? Because on one hand, that's what makes you such a special educator. It's that energy, it's that intention that goes, that loco apprentice thing.
yeah,
I've got you, kid. I'm gonna hold your hand through this.
yeah,
And then going, oh,
yeah, yeah. Like,
I'm also not showing up for my own, for my own children. It's
yeah. And there's so many things
bittersweet.
like Mother's Day, play drop-ins, all of the stuff. And I went to her graduation of nursery, so when she was finishing,
Mhm.
and it was just so lovely. And I'd already made the decision at that point because I knew she would start. Obviously, we'd applied for school, and she was starting school in September. And I was like, I don't want to miss her first
Yeah.
week at school. I
And
don't
that's
want
okay. And that's and that's okay. I feel like the access courses online world has met your needs.
yes,
So it's given you the, like you were saying, it's given you the opportunity to be that authentic, cheerleading, effective teacher, whilst being able to
I drop
meet
off
your,
my kids. Yeah,
yeah,
drop off my
meet your
kids.
family's needs. Yeah.
Um,
So in the experience that you've had so far, I said this a little bit to you before we started recording,
yeah,
but obviously you're my friend. But in doing the podcasts and meeting these different people, without any kind of prompting, your name has been brought up time and time again of being the game changer. So many people that I've met have had a dream that's been niggling at them for a little while, but they don't know what they don't know. So they don't know that they can follow the path of this dream until they find access to courses online, and they go, oh, maybe I could pursue this. Like, okay. And then they kind of get a little bit further down that journey, and the stories of joy and achievement and encouragement time and time again come back to the support that they get from the Access Course Online family, but from you specifically. Now we can't promise that every person that has an Access Courses Online journey will necessarily get a chunk of Laura, because different faculties have different support, etc. But how can I phrase this smoothly? How has having these learners in your life kind of met that need in you to support and cheerlead and help people succeed?
Well, I think the learners, so we have got an incredible team. So it's not just me. There is an
No.
incredible team. And like I feel like Gemma and I have recruited like the dream team. Like they are a beautiful
Yeah.
bunch of very, very highly experienced educators, very highly experienced professionals. You know, Dana was
Yeah.
a midwife, like such a well-respected midwife, and also a lecturer at university. So we've got like a tip-top team. But I think what we talked about, so Gemma and I always talked about from the beginning, is what we want, what puts us apart from different online courses
Hmm.
is that, you know, we get it. The reason you're doing it online is because you've got to manage your life around doing this course, which
Yeah.
is exactly what I have to juggle. So when I say I understand the struggle, I really do, you know,
Literally. Yeah.
and literally. And, you know, last year there was a student who was like, oh my goodness, my daughter will not go to bed. And I was like, me too. I am just trying to get Edith down because we all know that she's a little sleep evading beast. And but we were like, hey, because we were supposed to meet at like 7 o'clock, and she was like, Laura, I cannot get my daughter down. And I said, well, actually, mine is not going down either. I'm going to go and help Liam for half an hour if that's okay with you. And then should we just check back in at 8 and see where we're both up to? Absolutely. Perfect. Then we both sat down at 8. We had an amazing meeting. We just got her back on track on her assignment.
Hmm.
He then worked till like midnight, smashed out like an amazing, like the bit that she was struggling on. There was just a little bit that she just couldn't get over the edge of.
Yeah.
Just went through some bits with her on the knowledge and directed her to the right places. And then basically she came back to me, sent me her draft. Now at this point it's like midnight, but after like having a bit of a wild night with Edith, you know, sometimes you're like lying there and I was like, oh, I could read a book or could just go, I don't know if I can go to sleep yet. And then
Yeah.
it up on my phone and I was like, I'm just gonna have a quick look. And then I was looking through and I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. And it was just, it's so nice because actually we have got that flexibility. But also,
Yeah.
I think the main bit of it and the main thing that makes us different is that we've grown this online community who, yes, were online. And yes, I've never met some of my students face to face, but honestly, they are, you know, a close community. I've got a WhatsApp group that was pinging off the other day, and Liam was like, what's that? What are you texting? Who are you texting? And I was like, I'm messaging my old students. And he,
Oh.
what do you mean? And I was like, so we've got a little alumni group of our students who graduated from last year.
Yeah.
So I'd like just going to set up this group because like just in case, just if there's anything that at the beginning of the year that you want to like share or any expertise. Some of them are starting in January, some of them started in September. So I thought it'd be really nice to create a little space where they could just share their experiences and
Yeah.
you know, top tip. I manage this. Well, this WhatsApp group's been going off, and yeah, and they're just basically talking about the different exams that they're having to take and making comparisons across the country. And I think, you know, you don't necessarily always get that even on a face-to-face course. Like we've
No.
created.
And that experience, when you went to university and you had Claudia,
Yes.
I feel like you've replicated that for the people that you look after, because that friendship with Claudia is sort of like she's still your best friend now. And it's I always feel like I want to do a little disclaimer to say, now look, not everyone will get 4 a.m. Laura. Like this isn't normal. So please don't expect this, but also
No,
you
no.
might. And
I think the big thing is that it will like we'll be there for you when you need us. And so
yeah.
yeah, whatever the time, whatever the thing, you know, someone else recently contacted me and said, I'm going to quit the course because I've got too many life things going on, and I just
And they were massive. This wasn't. These were big,
these were big
big
life.
challenges.
And I know her because we've spoken a few times, and I was just like,
Yeah.
no, you can't quit the course. And I mean, I'm not saying that I threaten people. I don't threaten people, but I was like, no, you can't quit the course because this is your dream. And then she just needed getting back on the path.
A handhold. She needed a handhold to go.
Yeah.
It's all right. I've
Yeah.
got you. Come on.
Yeah. And that's
And
what we're
and I
doing.
think that's a big difference. It's a big difference. And I've been working in education for a really long time. You've obviously been in education a really long time. And throughout our shared experience, time and time again, what is coming out as a louder, clearer need is that more often than not, people just need a handhold, and
Absolutely.
they don't necessarily need intervention. They don't necessarily need, anything big or dramatic. What people need is a handhold in that space, and handholds are quite hard to come by in the outside world.
Yeah.
So being an organization that will go, well, not only will we very literally put this in place for your journey, but we'll also hold your hand to help you get there. It just it just cuts that um it cuts that
Yeah, I guess that,
anxiety in half.
yeah,
It
and that
cuts that
I
daunting feeling in half to go, actually, no, I can do this. I'm not a stupid person. I'm perfectly intelligent. I've gotten this far in life, but I
yeah.
don't know what I don't know. But I do know that you're going to help me get there. And I think that is an absolute gift. I think it's so important.
Well, actually, quite a few of our students, have said, and you've interviewed some of them who have said,
Oh, I love it. I love
I
it.
previously thought I wasn't good at education.
Yeah.
People that have left school with no qualifications or they've had a very poor experience of education in the past. That does not mean, like, I do not believe you have a fixed level of intelligence you're born with. I do not believe that. I believe that everybody has the potential to be good at the things that they need to do to get to the next part of their journey. And what I've
Also,
actually
sorry to interrupt you. I was just going to say, looking at your own story, look at how you kind of all over the place at school, but when you got to university, because it was your passion, you were an absolute keener.
Yeah,
You know, I've said this to some of my pod interviewees before. You
yeah,
sort of muddle through the education system because you have to,
yeah,
but you come into your own when you have the opportunity to specialize in what you love. And I think this is where higher education is such a beautiful thing,
yeah.
because you have the opportunity to really hone in your enjoyment and go, I flipping love history. I
Yeah.
can history all day.
Well,
And you can.
I think that is the thing. I've always said this. Learning with purpose is so much
Yeah.
meaningful. So, like,
Yeah.
when you're just learning something to pass a test, it's very hard to be excited about it.
Mm.
But if you've got purpose and meaning to your learning, and okay, there are some things on our courses that you have to do. There's some things that, if you want to
Yeah.
be a nurse, you have to do certain units. But what we do on the course is we find the purpose in the learning. So, when we're doing units on, for example, like one that loads of my students are on at the moment is the human disease unit. And every single assignment is so different, like so different, because everyone focuses on a different aspect. Initially, I had lots on COVID and the pandemic because it's a great case study. It's great. There's lots of data
Yeah.
to talk about and
Yeah.
about
And still
the
lots of questions, lots of exploring to do. Yeah.
exactly, and you can relate it to the PCR techniques and things. There's great stuff there, but it's so interesting. And so many students message me and say, Laura, I've fallen down a rabbit hole. And I'm like, just remember the assignment is only 2,000 words. But I think that shows that we
I'm going
treat
to trim it from 15. In fact, I've just written my master's. I'm going to pop it over here until I'm ready for the.
That's it. Actually, one of the biggest skills on this course that we try and teach you is writing in a concise way and to the point. And I think that's another bit that we do really, really effectively is that
Hmm.
students, like when you finish for university, you are going to be laughing because your referencing technique is going to be tip top. You're going to be reading the right academic papers. You're going to immerse yourself in the right reading. That's going to mean that just like one of my students who is in her second year of nursing, she messaged me the other day and was like, Laura, just used a SWOT analysis. No one in my seminar knew what it was, but I remembered from our course. She sat in another lecture and was like, Oh my God, talking about the spread of disease in hospitals, and we totally covered this in one of your sessions. And I was like, yeah, like it sets you up so that when you get to university, it's not such a big jump.
Yeah, and also what I love about the organization of access courses online is that that is very intentional.
Yeah. Oh,
That isn't coincidental or accidental that these things were
yeah. Yeah.
experienced when they got to
Yeah.
university. It's very intentional because it's not just, it's like you said in your previous comment, it's not just getting you to pass the course to get you there. It's giving you this complete holistic support to say, actually, on this journey, you will have enough know-how,
Yes.
enough confidence,
Yeah.
enough support,
Yeah.
and some alumni support as well to say, at no point in this are you going to be out at sea going, oh, oh, where do I go? Where do I go?
Yeah.
It's been designed intentionally
Absolutely.
for you to have a really good experience.
And even down to like UCAS. So,
Yeah, oh yeah.
we do help our students. We do a progressing to higher education unit with Luke, who's incredible. And Luke works at a college. His knowledge of UCAS and the process is exceptional. But we also
I think Luke's going to be on. Yeah, I'm going to
lovely.
get
Told you we had
get
a
to have a chat with Luke.
wait till you hear from him. But so he really does nurture all of our students. We meet you where you're at. So if you've been out of education for years, we will meet you where you are because, not everyone is at the same point.
Yeah.
And that's okay. And we can get you to the point where, people are always like, oh, Laura, I'm really worried because I need to get this many merit and distinctions. And I'm like, you'll get there. It's a journey. You'll look at the feedback on each assignment, you'll make progress because as long as you read the feedback and think about what you need to do next, we break it down into these small challenges. I have made so many videos on like skills. So like we've got a referencing video, we've got a how to do like a jazzy presentation on Canva, how to do we've got guest lectures from actual lecturers so that you can have a taste of what it would be like to be at university.
Ah.
So we've got so many things that we do to help you. But back to the UCAS, because that's what I was wanting to make the point of, is lots of our students they're not surrounded by people who have necessarily applied for university before. So, when they're going through the process, this is something that we go through every week.
You don't know what you don't know.
Exactly. And it's so easy for
I
us.
I I wouldn't know how to tap into the UCAS situation, but if I needed to, I would literally pick up the phone to you and say,
Yeah,
Law, how do I do this? And you tell me, which is
100%.
what
Yeah.
your students are getting.
And what we do is we proofread all of your personal statement, and quite often I'll say, no, I know that you do more things. Why haven't you talked about the fact that you volunteer at da da da? Or why haven't you talked about your absolute skill set where you do this in your spare time? I think people forget because they're like, well, I just did this. What? That's amazing. Think about the
I,
skill that you're bringing to
yeah,
your career.
I remember when you read, I had to do a personal statement for something once, and I think I ran it past you first, and it was very, we go through life feeling that blowing our own trumpet makes us audacious or arrogant. And
Yeah.
you were like, respectfully, where is this bit that I know about you, this bit that I know about you, this bit? And I was like, oh, well, I don't know if they need to know that. And you're like, nope, that bit about you shows them this, that bit about you shows them this. And that was very affirming to go, actually, I can be confident about myself without being arrogant. There is a difference, and I can own my achievements and I can own my strengths. But it very much takes somebody to go, no, I can objectively tell you that you haven't given me enough information, and
Yeah.
telling me this part about your life will evidence that quality in you. So having somebody to do that, what a blessing.
Yeah.
Because that's life changing as well. That isn't just something that will get you across the line into the university of your choice. That will change how you carry yourself through the rest of the world. You're going, oh, no, I can own that about myself. That doesn't make me like an icky attention seeker. That's just going, oh, I did this and it taught me that. That's cool.
And I do encourage all of my students to get on LinkedIn because you know I love a bit of LinkedIn.
You are prolific, my babe. You are
I
prolific.
am. And do you know what? That's taken time for me to grow confidence to do that. Actually, I'm like, no, I want people to know what I'm doing. And I want people to know because, first of all, like for Community, if people know what Community are doing, then they're far more likely to engage with us and come and work with our schools. I've just spoken to an amazing woman earlier, a woman in maritime engineering who wants to come and do some stuff with us. And I'm so excited. And she reached out over LinkedIn. She was like, I saw you were doing all these things. So, first of all, from like a selfish point of view, I'm like, it's a really good way to recruit people from Community. But then also, I've realized it's built my confidence. And actually,
Yeah.
if someone does think, oh, Laura's always on LinkedIn, like boasting about stuff she does, I'm like, do you know what? That's okay because it makes me happy. I'm proud of my achievements. I'm proud of the students that I work with. I'm proud of what Community's achieving. And yeah, I'm going to talk about it. And I'm not
I mean, I
ashamed.
am biased, but I have never seen you boast. And I think that's what's different, isn't it? I think you know when somebody's boasting and you can go, okay,
Yeah,
you know, you do you.
yeah.
But celebrating isn't boasting.
No, it's
Owning achievements isn't boasting. And
not.
that, that's really different. And I think it's a pipeline skill. So
Yeah,
having a LinkedIn premise when you're going into a professional or you're pivoting your journey,
yeah,
actually it's pipeline.
yeah,
Doing it now, building your confidence means actually when you graduate or when you're close to graduating, or if you need opportunities from the professional world, the seed was sown much earlier, so you're in a better place for it.
definitely.
Um, my love,
Sorry.
oh, sorry.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say one of our students last year got on LinkedIn quite early on our course.
Mm,
Has been connecting with all kinds of people
yeah,
in the industry. And I'm like, you are going to like fly because once you
yeah,
finish your degree or while you're doing your degree, opportunities are going to come your way because you're visible. And I
yeah.
think actually, I want that this is I promise I will finish in a second. This is my message to the students. I want you to take up space. I want you to be visible. I want you to be able to achieve the dream career that you want to achieve. My passion is helping other people realize and achieve their dream. I am an educator at my very core. Teaching and educating is what I love and what I'm meant to be doing. And I think this is why this role suits me so beautifully. It's flexible, it allows me to spend time with my family and do other things that I love. But ultimately it feeds part of me that needs to teach and facilitate others to find their passion for learning.
You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to challenge that, and I'm going to say that's not who you are at your core. Who you are at your core is a hand holder, and you're somebody who lives the fact that love is a verb and kindness is a verb. It's a doing word, and teaching is just the way that you can demonstrate who you are. It's You are one of the most authentic people in all the ways that matter that I've ever met, and I'm so delighted for all of the people that I speak to as a part of Access Courses Online. I'm so delighted that they get to have that from you, because I think in a world where you see, people do their jobs and do their jobs very well, not everybody is a Laura. And meeting somebody like the world that you move in is very blessed to have that access, no pun intended, to you, because you're a game changer, Laura Watford, and I'm going to speak on behalf of all the people that get to experience you. You are a game changer. You have, and I know this, you have made the difference in people's journeys who would have given up without a Laura, who would have not gotten past the first hurdle without a Laura. But having your handhold is a game changer, and I know I praise you all the time, but I will never stop, because it is so important. That your energy is so important, and it's such a gift, and I'm so delighted that you're still able to deliver that outside of the classroom. I remember when you said you wanted to put down classroom teaching. I was like, oh, I
Yeah.
don't know that I want that because that's a massive loss to the children of the city. But I also understand it from you. So I'm so delighted that you still get to put that energy into the world because it's very important. Anyway, we're going to wind this up
Yeah,
because
and our next
what initially started as a let's have a quick chat,
yeah,
like we'd go on and on. So
yeah.
very grateful to you, my love. And yeah, I'm sure we will find a reason to do another Access Courses online pod recordings.
Well, here's a proposal. The next bit, this is part one of two, and then part two of two, we need to do a celebration of Jane Moody STEM and talk about all the wonderful things that you do and all of the things
Ah,
that we're going to do together. We need a recorded plotting of our master plan for STEM.
I don't know if that's enjoyable for people though, because it just goes wild and then we hone it in and then it goes wild and we hone it in.
They can see the
Squiggle brain.
and also,
Yeah.
I mean, the way that you hold this space is so beautiful, and thank you for doing that for so many of my students who might not have heard their voice heard otherwise.
It is literally my pleasure. Literally, I talk about these pod conversations over and over because the storytelling is, oh, it's inspirational. That I just know that there are going to be so many people who feel that they can because they see somebody has.
Yeah.
I love it. It's my
Oh,
absolute pleasure.
here's an idea for Troy. This
Mm.
one for Troy. Inspirational People of Online Access Courses Awards.